Today's topic, other than our remembrance, is forgiveness made easy. Which, when I was thinking about all of that, the idea of remembering and the day that it was and forgiveness seemed to dovetail. I don't know how much we often think about forgiveness being part of our grief processing, and that, and I commend you guys that are willing to talk today, and even the people that allowed themselves to be videoed in those vulnerable moments, because, in the sharing of that, and bringing that kind of sense of share and vulnerability, I think it gives us all permission to explore that just a little bit more, and in terms of, what does that mean for all of us, and what part of us is, and particularly forgiveness, because we're not, in the grand scheme of things, we're not just forgiving things that happened, but we're forgiving ourselves and realigning ourselves in the moment. And it's a continual process. There is a beautiful book. This is one I have an audio, not hard copy, so I couldn't bring it today to show you. But I'll tell you, I have it on the audio because at the end of the book called Forgiveness Made Easy, Barbara Hunt, who is the author, walks you through the process that she lays out in the book. So it's nice to have it on the audio. So, and you can find her on the YouTube as well. But the book is called Forgiveness Made Easy. And she talks a lot in that book about how we don't gloss over things in our lives, right? That just about every moment offers any hard moment, any moment like what we saw here with remembrance and grieving and living within our heart and reflecting back to just about anything. The practice of what she calls forgiveness brings us into an alignment. It offers a healing space. So I want to walk you through a few steps using some of what she had laid out, and also dovetailing it with some other processes, and also bringing in the idea. On Thursday, we had the World Day of Prayer, in which we used the symbol of the lighthouse as our shining out, that we are both this structure, right? And also the light, and in taking care of our structure and in taking care of that light and that mirror, then it shines further. And then other people can find the light as well, and then maybe take care of their lighthouses a little bit better in the process if they see that process in somebody else. So we're going to try this together. And first, we acknowledge what's really going inside of ourselves. And in Matthew 18, it's the old 70 times 7 saying that we forgive 70 times 7. And really, that is symbology for infinity. It's something we're always working on. It's not something that we just hold for special occasions, right? So we acknowledge what's really going on inside us. And when we acknowledge that, we acknowledge some kind of unmet need that's within us. Maybe we're feeling unseen, maybe we feel unworthy, or maybe, whatever it is, what unmet need is really going on inside of us. Because really, anytime that we're activated, we're triggered, whichever word feels better to you there. Sometimes it's not always what happened out here, but what happens inside of us when what happened out here happened. So what is that really? And if we were honest with that, and how has that hurt, that lack of need affected us? What did it bring up? Did it bring up memories? Did it bring up some way that we didn't feel our needs met when in another time? Did it just bring up something right in the moment? It can be all kinds of things, really. So I know I try really hard to remember that. You guys know I still have 2 kids at home, and they are lovely young teenagers of 13 and 15. One's just turning 15 next week. And, and when they go off, it's like, what is going on? So this weekend, They had a huge weekend. They're in the marching band now. So they were gone. They left for school at 7 a.m. Friday. They didn't get home until 11 o'clock Friday night. And then they got up again Saturday for the exhibition that was at the high school. And that was a really long day. And I was tired. I can't imagine what was going on with them. And about 10 o'clock, they met me at the concession stand because that's where I was working and helping. And I just, and right away, the younger one just like, and instead, and I'm like, okay, wait, did you eat today? Did you take some time to eat? Now, this is the child he's a vegetarian. So we didn't pack extra stuff. And the only thing they had to buy at the concession stand was meat-based or chippies and things. So right away, I'm like, what unmet need is going on in this little bugger right now that he is so activated, So I'm like, if we can do that for others and recognize, can we do it for ourselves? Is it both ways? Can we take a breath and say, what's really going on? Is he really that irritated and being nasty? Or is it that I'm a safe place to do that because there's something going on that he needs? And after we got home and fed him, he was much better, so but that's a simple one. What else is going on? Can we do that with ourselves? And can we recognize that in others? And can we accept that? Can we accept perceptions of somebody else, right? Even if they're not our perceptions. And can we accept that we have perceptions that are going on at the same time? Even though I have a lighthouse and you have a lighthouse, they might not be shining in the same colors, and do I accept that you want to have a blue lighthouse and I want to have a green one? Is that okay? What's going on right then? It doesn't mean it makes things any less, right? It's still hurtful and things happen. And, the world sometimes is just that place where we need, but do we accept that we're hurt? And do we accept all the perceptions that are going on with that? And then do we decide? So forgiveness is a decision, right? It's a decision for us to work with, not to say that other person's off the hook or that situation needs, didn't really happen that way. We don't need to change, right? But are we ready to take care of what's going on inside of ourselves and really recognize that and to work with that hurt and transform it and then integrate it? Because we don't forget. I know the old saying was forgive and forget, but let's be honest, that's not a thing. Nobody ever forgets that stuff. But can we transform the way we feel about it and then reintegrate that memory? Right? So that when we come up against it again, we don't just, wreck ourselves in the process or wreck somebody else inadvertently. What can we do in this moment? And there's lots of things. Now, Barbara Hunt uses this really lovely process of visualization. And in the visualization, you actually get to talk to whatever it is that's going on. So whatever you remember about whatever, right? And in terms of grief, you can use that with whatever person. So I can, my dad passed in December, and I can tell you that for about 2 months straight, I was totally irritated with that man for taking off the way he did. So I used the process, and you visualize whatever that is, and you just let it have it, right? And you don't have to do this in front of anybody else. That's the beauty of it. It works if you're in a place all by yourself, talking to the air, right? But in your mind, you have that out there, and you just say, and then in the same process, you stop and you feel, well, what else is there? So I was irritated, but what other emotions were really underneath irritated? Because we all know that whatever comes out of our mouth first, there's 5 other things that are really happening inside, So in the taking of the time to just say whatever and in whatever way you want, and it doesn't matter, again, because you're in your own space. Now you can do this with some other people, right? I was actually fortunate enough, Barbara runs an online version of this, and it's through the Integral Life website. And since I'm a member there, and anybody can be a member there, so you all can look it up. she offers some free little group sessions through Zoom. And the one day I bumped in and I was the only one there. I was like, private session with Barbara, right? So when you have somebody that can take that non-judgmental stance with you, and you can work, you know, so that was a neat process as well, because I know you guys are a lot like me, a lot of you, in that it's safer to be by yourself in your room to do some of these things. But in this instance, or you can find that non-judgmental person to help walk you through it. And then you peel off the layers, right? So the more you talk, the more you peel off the layers to what else is there? What other memory is there? What else is really, really going on? And then you get to this blank space. And in the blank space, you decide. At that moment, you decide, are you ready to transform this? Are you ready to forgive it? Right? And part of the process is actually moving up higher so you can see it from different perspectives. And then you can even let that situation speak back to you and offer their perspective. Now, yes, you're kind of making it up in your head. But if we recognize that all our lights are connected and we are in this divine matrix, there is a truth that gets made up in your head by what's being said back. You know, and you trust that when you, like Carol said, the word surrender to it. When you surrender to that and recognize that, that truth does come back. And then in the visualization, you take all of that and you poof it into a nice, big, lovely campfire and let it go, you know? And in that way you reintegrate it, because again, you don't forget it. It's not gone, but you can transform that energy. You know, when you put something in the fire, it's not really, really gone, right? It becomes part of the atmosphere and the ashes that are in there, and, you know, all of the reactions. So we do that and we reflect. And then here perhaps is the part that we don't often go to, and that's the gratitude. Gratitude for recognizing it, gratitude for integrating it, gratitude for life showing you what's really going on inside of you that you can integrate into full healing with all that is, and affirming that we are whole and healthy and wonderful, even despite having those underlying feelings that maybe we didn't know that we were having in that moment of working with forgiveness. We move away from the victimhood part of that, right? Because if we're so hurt because of something, right, we're kind of the victim. But when we do this process, we have this inner freedom, you know, we clean the lighthouse, gets much brighter, things get out of the way. So forgiveness isn't glossing over. It's not forgetting or condoning, but it is the giving up of suffering. And it is inner freedom.